Hi guys, this is Cindy Dumeyer.
And I'm Tom.
And guess where we are? Ocala National Forest. We're going to go hiking and biking and canoeing and kayaking today and maybe a zip line next week. Ha! Scary. But we can do this because we did it Ron's way and we are on the move. We are not tied down to a job, and guess what? We're still making money. So we're filling in for Ron today, and I'm going to read the questions that were sent in and we're going to answer them. So here goes. Paul Brennan from Massachusetts. Ron, isn't it true that big upfront non-refundable deposits you get from your tenant buyer you don't keep because it goes to the purchase price when the buyer buys down the road? Tom?
That is not true.
Nope.
You do keep it. And the only thing you have to keep in mind, and in the back end when the seller or the buyer cashes out, that obviously comes off of your profit. So for instance, if there's a $50,000 profit and you've collected 20 up front, then when the tenant buyer decides to buy, you're not going to get the 50, you're only going to get the 30. But I don't mind. I'll take the money up front. And besides, even if the tenant buyer, fails to close, then that money is yours. So either way, it's your money.
And maybe you get to do it again. Awesomeness. Anyway, Stephen Anderson from Texas said, when you notify a lender or a bank that you put a new policy on insurance, assuming it's insurance policy, and cancel the old policy, did you ever run into the situation where the lender or the bank sold off the loan to someone else? Well, guess what? It doesn't matter. You just go and get a policy, put it in your name. I remember the first subject to that we had. I was really scared because the old owner, canceled the policy, and it was a very, very small bank. We just went out, got another policy, sent it in, and we're still going with it. So just do what you do and just keep going, and it doesn't matter. Brian Davis from Florida said, I am in the process of calling all homeowners with vacant houses, but I'm getting a lot of voicemails. What message can I leave to get them to call me back? Simple. A voicemail that says, hi, my name is Brian. I'm interested in your house. I want to talk to you. I would like to buy it right away. Please call me as soon as you can. Pretty much a yellow letter on the voicemail. If they're motivated, they're going to call you back. If they're interested, they're going to call you back. But that's what you need to do, a yellow letter voicemail. He also asked, I'd like to streamline the process of finding vacant homeowners using my VA as much as possible. Do you have any tips on how to accomplish that? Well, let me tell you, there's people out there selling lists for vacant homes. Don't waste your money. The reason is it's very obsolete quickly. Let's say your neighbor moves out next door. It takes a long time to get on that list, and a lot of things happens before it does. So if you start using that service, you're not going to get anything. Your best bet is just to keep sending out yellow letters, contacting. If you ever see a vacant home, get the address, send it to your VA, and have them follow up. That's what you want to do. You've got to be the best person that can find vacant homes in your area. All right. Number 2, Stephen Holmes says, from South Carolina, I've had Pat Live collect contact information from people who call in my yellow letters. And then I have my VA call back to fill out lead property information sheets. Now, I'm thinking I should have Pat Live collect the house info directly so the VA can just call back the sellers who refuse to leave their information with Pat Live. Does that sound like a good idea to you? No. The reason why, you want Pat Live to use Ron's script. Find out if they have a house for sale, and that's it. One reason is Pat Live is a little more expensive than Ron's VA. So what you want to do is find out if they have a house for sale, and Ron's VA are trained by Ron, Jennifer, and Dolores to get that information, to find it out. Pat Live is not trained by Ron. So you want to get, if they have a house for sale, then send it to your VA and let them do it their way and Ron's script. And that's where you get most of the information filled out. Let's see, Derek Claiborne. Hi, Derek, from Maryland. Ask, I have a subject to deal under contract for the mortgage balance, but my buyer has a few questions since the property tax and insurance escrows are in the previous owner's names. Can my buyer write the property taxes off on his personal income taxes as a mortgage interest deduction? Tom?
Well, number one, you check with your accountant or tax advisor, but basically, whoever owns a property can deduct the tax. So obviously, if you're in the middle of a tax year, you have to prorate out the taxes from when the buyer took ownership to the end of that tax year. But it is deductible. Of course, if you're living in it as a personal residence, I think that would be different than an investment property, but it's still deductible. It'd just be different on the tax form. So yes, you can deduct it.
But whoever has their name on the deed, whoever gets the benefits. Here's another question from Derek. If the house is damaged and an insurance claims needs to be made, who makes it? Guess what? The owner. Simple. Same as the last question, the owner. After processing a seller and setting up an appointment for a lease with the option to purchase, I heard you say to leave the agreement with the seller. Can you please explain why? Mark Vester of Arizona asked this. Tom?
Well, yes, you can do that, but obviously your goal is to go out and get a signed contract. And if you've done your pre-screening properly and gone through the scripts that Ron teaches, telling them, are you ready to do the paperwork? If we come out and agree on price and terms, then, that's your goal. And most of the time you should be able to get a contract. If for some reason they're not willing to sign right then, you can leave a contract. Don't leave it with your signature on, just leave it blank. And then, follow up the next day.
Follow up.
And ask them, have you had a chance to review the paperwork? Are you ready to move forward? And if they say no, I'd give them maybe another day. And then on the second day, if they still say no, I would just say, well, I'm sorry. We have other projects we want to work on. So, I guess we're not going to be able to do business. So it's pretty basic. Just try to get the contract signed the first time you're there. And if not, follow up quickly, and otherwise whack them.
Whack 'em, whack 'em. All right. Marianne Nuds from California said, if you're taking title subject to, how do you structure the deal to protect yourself and your buyer against a possible bankruptcy down the road?
Well, there's another question that's a think or brain question that you're trying to figure out everything that can go wrong that probably never will. But number one, there's nothing you can guarantee anyone. But if you do own the property, particularly those you guys out there that already have properties subject to, and you would find out there's a bankruptcy, first of all, you contact your attorney and ask them to have it, removed from the proceedings, the bankrupt proceedings. And I don't think that should be a problem, because if you're making the payments and the loan is current, there's no reason for the courts to modify that loan or do anything with it. So, again, ask your attorney, but I don't think it would be any problem. Don't worry about it.
Yep. Get a real estate attorney, just like Ron says. All right. If a seller does ask you how much you made, what do you tell them? This is a question that we've heard a lot of. What do you say, Tom?
We just tell them the truth. Realtors make money. Everybody's entitled to make money. If you haven't signed the agreement yet, it's basically, well, are you satisfied with the terms? Are you satisfied with the sales price? And I would just, kind of leave it like that. And if it presses on a little further, just say, well, we're entitled to make a little profit. That's what we're here for. But, as long as you're satisfied with the sales price, let's move forward.
Right. Last question. Have you found that most sellers have no problem with you signing the agreement back to them? Want to get to that?
No. Actually, why would they? Of course, you have to make sure that the agreement you have with your new tenant buyer matches up with, the one you've had with the seller, other than the sales price. You can't start changing terms and closing costs and all that. But if it's basically the same contract with just a different sales price, they should not have a problem.
All right, I have a tip for you, and I want to make sure you're in on it. Ron's doing something crazy. He's sending out all these videos about terms. I think there's a series of 10 of them. If you are not on that video list or email list, you make sure you are. It is awesome. It's a training that's going out constantly, and he's going to be launching the terms, but he's giving you so much information free. So make sure you're on that email list. If you're not, well, call the office and make sure and get in there. Call Global. So we're signing off. We're going to go kayaking. We're going zip lining, and we're going to go down a alligator infested river. Are you ready for this? In a canoe. Am I crazy? Okay.
Yes.
Well, anyway, we are. So have a great week. Make money, cash checks, and guess what? 2015 is going to be the best year ever. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.